Welcome to the Bookish Diaries podcast with Megan and Kate. This week we have the incredible Cortney Winn with us to discuss all things Vesselless and her writing style. Courtney, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Hey, I'm Courtney. Thank you guys so much for having me on the podcast. I recently wrote a romantasy book called Vesselless, and it is about flirty ghosts, um, with a setting kind of like Crescent City, a mix of medieval and technology. And yeah, it comes out this October with Harper Voyager, and I am so stoked to finally see it on the shelves.
That is so exciting. Do you have anything planned for your release?
We are doing a release party in Utah at one of my favorite bookstores. It's called the Book Box.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
so yeah, I'm really excited and nervous because it's my first one. So I don't know what to expect, but it'll be fun.
That's awesome.
I'm I, I'm excited because I still have your original. Sorry, I had to show it. I'm like, I have your original book. Because it's one of
I
my favorites. So anyway.
thank you guys. You guys are awesome. I only have one of the originals left also, like to
Really?
my name. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Like
Really?
wow.
you, I had people asking me for the damaged copies and the annotated copies, and yeah, I was blown away.
That is so cool.
Do you know what I'll have to put a picture of your new one up on the screen since I don't have it, but I like that you guys, I mean, you did change the cover a little bit, but it still matches the original, I think, a little bit.
Mhm. I do.
Just
Yeah,
colors are a little different, but
I really was grateful and loved that the publisher wanted to embrace the indie style choices. The UK really did a throwback to the original. It's black and gold and has the hand and the snake.
Hmm.
And then the US did like, more of a realism type feel
Hmm.
on it. And so I loved both of them. So
they're both
That's
gorgeous.
so cool. Hmm.
And I'm happy that hopefully your second book will, I'm all about matching. I'm like, at least it'll hopefully still match.
I actually had the cover of book two come through my email this last weekend. I'm so excited.
That is so exciting.
When do you
I
get to
can't
share it with the public?
well, it was from the UK edition, so it will be matching that style.
Hmm.
I haven't seen any of the others, like the US edition or anything. But they sent an email with it and saying that they will maybe start planning for a release of it. So I don't know when, but I love it. So I'm
That
really
is so
excited.
exciting.
I'm excited.
I know, I
Sorry,
feel like this has been like giving me the gray hairs. All like, indie authors, they are the publisher, and so like they can say things when they are ready to say them and release them, and everything is like a lot quicker, because
Hmm.
there's less moving pieces, less people involved. Um, so this has been a little bit of a learning curve for me. Like I will get an exciting piece of information and I can't share it for like 9 months. And then by the
Oh,
time the nine
wow.
months comes, I'm like, oh yeah, that. So yeah. So you guys are actually one of the first people to know. I've seen
So
the second
exciting.
cover.
that's exciting. We get not a little bit of a sneak peek. Well, no, I mean, not see the cover, but we
Right.
get to see the news first, I guess.
Yeah, yes. You know that it is coming officially. I know like my page, like I mean you guys know my story, but published Vesselless on KU over a year, almost a year and a half ago. And so like it has been kind of put on hold, and everyone's waiting for this release, and they're also waiting for book two. And so it's been a really interesting spot that I'm in, trying to um, just keep trucking along until we can get book 2 here. So, yeah.
Oh, we're so excited. So, in writing Vesselless, were you more of a plotter, a pantser, or somewhere in between?
I think definitely somewhere in between, but heavier on the pantser.
Okay.
Um, I kind of like, okay, this is gonna sound silly, but like I once heard in a okay, I grew up Mormon, and they have a saying like some people, when you bear your testimony, they have this sign and it says your testimony is found in the bearing of it, which um whether you're religious or not, I related that to writing books, like finding the story is found in the writing of it, at least for me. Um
Okay.
and that's kind of silly, but every time someone asks me that question, that little like phrase comes to my mind. I'm like, I
Yeah.
find that I cannot find the story unless I am writing it. But like I have elements that I want to incorporate. So like for Vesselless, it was all I wanted, like that end scene that was the cliffhanger. I wrote the almost the whole book based on like that vibe and that feeling. Um and I also wanted to bring like, in like romantasy books, you either have the magic system where you like bond like a dragon. That's a very
Hmm.
popular one, or you bond a magical creature of some sort, or you have the MMC aside from that, who is also, and I wondered if what if those were the same thing? Like you bonded the MMC, who was the magical creature. And so that was kind of where all of it came from and stemmed from.
That's awesome.
And
Have
so I was
you,
like,
oh,
"Oh, go ahead,
go
go
ahead.
ahead."
Sorry. I was just going to say, have you, since you've kind of, like, you started Vestless as an independent publisher and now you're moving into a traditionally published space, have you noticed that your writing has changed at all? Or have you been able to keep the same kind of, like, ways of writing?
Um, I think my writing has grown, but not necessarily because I've switched from indie to trad. I I write every single day. Um, and I think that is just hopefully a natural progression of me growing as a writer. Vesselless is the second book I've ever tried to write. Um, and my goal as a writer is to just continue growing, like I want to get to the point where I've written or published dozens of books, so I don't think my process has changed other than I have a hard deadline now,
Okay.
and that is very intimidating. um it's always in the back of my mind, and I think my husband is like, "You're a walking ball of stress." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." So, yeah, I just feel like my deadline is just racing towards me, and I'm like trying to type to keep up with it. Um, but my writing process is still very much the same, and
Okay.
I'm trying to find ways that are easier for me to write, or like narrow down like this is what my writing style is. And I've listened to like podcasts like, writing excuses, and I've listened to how writers' processes change based on what they find works best for them and what doesn't work best for them. And I'm still in the process of trying to find mine. Mine currently involves erasing a lot of words. I think I have written enough words to fill 3 books.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
And
wow.
and currently my book 2, as we talk right now, sits at 76,000 words of stuff that I feel like is going to stay. Even though I
Okay.
know I'm going to get to the final, or the draft of it, and I'm going to hand it into the publisher, and I know that so much of that's going to be ripped out and changed. Like the is yeah. kind of sickening. Like every time my husband like comes in and he looks at my word count, he's like, "Oh, you erased more?" Yeah, but it needed it. So,
Oh.
So when you are writing, what does a typical writing day look like for you? Like what are you doing?
um, it's me telling myself that I will go to, like I write linearly. I really struggle to write scenes out of order. So like my document, the 76,000 words, is the first 76,000 words. So my writing session is a lot of me saying like, "Okay, I am going to open my document down at the bottom and I am going to write from there, like add." But I always find myself in the middle editing down, which still adds words, and makes the document stronger. But yeah, that's a lot of it. So it is me constantly at a fight of myself to go down to the bottom and write on. I don't know why that's the hardest thing for me to do. But it
Is
is.
there like a certain word count where that starts? Because I imagine like the first 5 pages you have written, it's easier to just go to the bottom and continue writing. But
Yeah, yeah,
do you
that's
know
true.
like about when it starts that you're, or
So
is it
I
just kind of,
find I find like okay, you write 5 pages, you get to page 5 and you're like, this becomes really hard because I don't know, something's broken, you know, and you
okay,
don't know what it is. And so like I have to go back and read through and I'm like, "Oh, this one thing is broken." And like I can write 10 pages once I fix that broken thing. And then at page
okay,
10, I'm like, "Oh, something is broken again because this is not hitting right at all." So then I go back to page 1 and start reading back through. That is really my process. And it's
okay.
very,
That's really
very
interesting.
tedious, very tedious, um, and it changes on scale. I don't read through the document every single time, but you know, I'm at the 76,000 words, and I hit a chapter where I'm like, so many things are broken right now. I need to go back and fix some things to save me in the long run, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Mhm.
So hopefully I'm making sense in my chaoticness. Um, but yeah, I write until something feels very broken, and then I go back, edit, and I'm like, okay, things are feeling like not perfect, but perfect enough that I can continue on. So
Nice.
Nice.
I like it. Do you have any weird or fun writing rituals like playlists, snacks, candles?
I wake up at 4 in the morning, like every day but Christmas, or and even like on this last, we went on vacation, and like I said, I'm stressing that deadline, so I still woke up at the sorry, this is gonna make me sound so Utah. I wake up at the butt crack of dawn. That's what my dad always used to
Okay,
say.
literally that was in my head, and I live in
That
Idaho, so.
that was in my head and I'm originally from Maine. So like yeah. But that's
Okay,
what
I'm
popped up
glad.
when you were about to say it. I was like, she's gonna say that. I know
Yeah.
it.
So I have that, I guess this is one of my really weird quirks. I have so many of those sayings in my head all the time. But okay, so here's you guys. So on this vacation last week, that's my main ritual. To answer your question, I wake up very early and I
Mhm.
write when everyone is dead asleep because any person wandering about the house makes it hard for me to write. So it has to be just me in my own world. Um, and coffee. And coffee. And I'm
Nice.
going to stress how much I need the coffee in this little story I'm going to tell you about my vacation. When I woke up to write, the coffee shop opened at 5:30 is what they said online. Okay. So I woke up, I'm like, "Oh good, I can get like somewhat close to my routine." Um so I woke up at 5. I drove down to the coffee shop to get coffee and it wasn't open. And I got looking at the thing and it was Sunday. So they didn't open till 6:30, like a whole nother hour. I fell asleep in my car waiting for coffee. But I was parked right by the opening of the door. So, like, I'm asleep, like, like, my head is against the back of my seat, and my mouth was open. Like, I know that it was open because, like, when I woke up, it was, like, so dry. Like, it's, like, sticking to my tongue. And I walk in the coffee shop, and the girl, like, once it opens, and the girl's like, "Were you asleep in your car?" I'm like, Yes, I fell asleep waiting for coffee." And she's like, "I felt so bad for you. Like, poor girl came to get coffee and we weren't open." Anyways, so yeah, like I tried to edit on my phone while I was waiting for coffee and I totally fell asleep and it was embarrassing. And yeah.
Makes for a great story.
It
Yeah.
does.
I was like, I can never come back to this coffee shop because like I was so embarrassed. Like I had like the whole like I was like sweating. I was so embarrassed because I know my mouth was wide open. I was like sawing logs, waiting for stinking coffee because I couldn't stay awake without it. So yeah,
Oh
that's
my
my
gosh.
ritual. I have to have coffee.
Um, okay, next question. What How did so I'm curious, and you might have said it in a post, but how did you come up with the theme for Vesselless? Like where did the whole like ghost and you know all of that come in?
Um, well, it kind of like I said stemmed from like what if the MMC was a power source? Um, and I also, like you have MMCs who can shift into like, Resand shifts into a creature, um, like shifters, And I was
Yeah.
thinking like I have never seen one that could shift into a ghost. And I thought that little thought was interesting, and so I ran with it and then it also became like, well, what if a society bonds with ghosts for power, and that's where all that stemmed from. And then the vessel, vessel, one of the definitions of the word is like in which something flows through, you know? And so I think I've people don't quite understand why I chose that name, and that's the reason I chose that name. And Vesselless was like, someone in the story doesn't have a vessel or becomes Vesselless in the story. And so that's all where that came from. Yeah. Did that
That's
answer your
actually
question?
yes. No, that's actually really cool because a lot of times what I really loved about your book is a lot of people follow the same magic systems, the same theme kind of. And I like yours because it was like something new. I'm like, we don't really hear about like the whole ghost aspect of things. And I just love that because I love books that have a different take on something and they're not just following what is super popular or, what everybody else does. And because I struggle with that with fantasy nowadays, is I read a book and I'm like, this sounds exactly like the last book I read. And Vessellus was not like that. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is like amazing. This is something new finally that's out there. And so I really liked it.
Well, thank you.
I
There's
just had to
multiple
throw it
times.
in.
That means a lot. Especially because like it is different in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of comments around being different. And there was many times writing it, I kind of stopped and I was like, is this too different? Because I I had never read anything like it, and I kind of worried in some ways. I'm like, is this going to be too different for what the market is? Um, and um, but those things that were different made me excited to write it, and so I felt like I owed it to myself to write it. And like the technology, I know like that in of itself was really different for a lot of people. Like it was kind of a mashup of medieval and Crescent City vibes. Um, but I played with the idea. You guys know, uh, is Stranger Things? Is that the one with the multiple dimensions? Like
Yeah.
you go into another world. It's the same world, but it's different, and I kind of grasped onto that and was
Nice.
like, so these realms are all completely different worlds. And so I was like, well, if one realm is more technologically advanced, then there would be signs, like
Hmm.
there. And I if I am guilty of something, it is having too many ideas and trying to mash them into the same story. So thank you for celebrating my differences, my crazy ideas.
For me, that's what I look for now in books is that, and yours was so well done, I thought.
Same. I
Thank you.
crave the uniqueness. When I hear an author, like you said, like, is this too different? I'm like, I want to read it. What is it?
Yes.
Give me.
Oh, thank you.
What's your favorite piece of writing advice that you've ever received?
Um, I don't know if it's really advice per se, but it is a story that I kind of hold close to my heart as I go through this journey. Like, I'm not gonna lie, being an author, being on Bookstagram, putting all of your inner thoughts and creativities that do in some ways relate to you as a person and reflect things about you, putting all of that in a public place for people to kind of just like review, is hard. Just all around, it's hard. I love it and I wouldn't change anything about it, but there are hard things about it. And so, a story that I hold close to me as I go through and be an author is Callie Hart. How she wrote 60, like 60 books before. I don't know if Quicksilver was her 60th book or it was 61, but I know she wrote 60 books, and Quicksilver was going to be her last book that she tried to write. Um, and I only remember her saying it on like a podcast interview that she'd given. Um, but that little piece of story has been reflected in many ways. Like Brandon Sanderson, I believe he wrote 14. I know it's in the teens, books before his first book ever released. Um and like Rebecca Yarros, I remember I was one of the very first to read Fourth Wing. I just happened across it before it blew up. And I remember looking at her, like pulling her Instagram up, looking at her. She had 6,000 followers. Um, and there was no fan art. Like I had read Fourth Wing and I was like, I need to know more about this author and the characters and blah, blah, blah. I looked her up. She only had 6,000 followers and she had released 20 books. And so, like, it's not really an advice that was given. It's more of like the belief that sometimes you have to write those 20 books or 60 books. You have to, like, just keep going before you find your niche or you completely grow into the role of as an author. So I guess just to keep going. like like it's a long-term game. And not game, but you're in it for the long term. So I guess that piece of advice or story or whatever, what have you, is the most resonating with me.
Yeah, I like that. I feel like 60 books is a lot. So for her to be like, this is my last one, and then for that one to go like crazy, that's really cool.
You know, and whenever anyone would make a comment about like, I mean, how she found success, and I'm like, she deserves that.
Worked her ass off.
Like
Yeah.
I'm like, you write 60 books and then get back to me, like about that. And so that is what I hold dear to my heart is I actually have a goal thing right here, and it says 20 books, and I have 1 through 20 written, and that's my goal, is to write 20 before I ever consider throwing in the towel or quitting or whatever, is 20 books.
That's awesome. How many of them do you have ideas for?
That's what I was just gonna ask.
I have, aside from the Merciless Realms series, which Spain bought 5 books total. So, like, I am contracted to write 5 books in this series. 1 is a novella. So aside from those books, I have one idea that will not leave me alone, and it will be the next either standalone or duology that I write, and I'm really excited about.
That's so
think
cool.
I don't think like Gotham City meets Lights Out, and that will be kind of like
Oh,
vibes that will not leave me alone. So I'm really excited for that one.
that's awesome.
That sounds interesting. I like it.
Thank you.
Um, okay, on the flip side, what is the worst, if you have received any, what is the worst writing advice you've received?
The worst that I've ever received is more of a generalization when someone says that you need to have a 7-point plot structure or you have to do it this certain way. That I truly believe there is no right way to be creative, and that is what writing is. You know, there is a right way to be marketable to an audience, but there is no right way to write a book. And every time I try to mold my process into what works for so many other people, the more stagnant my creativity becomes. And so I think that's probably the worst, is when someone says you have to do X, Y, or Z, or you won't sell books.
I like
Makes
that
sense.
because I
Hmm.
think that writing is, I mean, it's definitely like art, kind of. It's just words instead of images. And I don't know, everybody has their own process.
Yeah, I strongly view writing as an art, and it's called a language arts. Like it's a different medium than paint or clay or whatever, but it is an artistic expression, and I believe that we not everyone views it that way, and so it really irks me when I see someone say it wasn't well written. And I don't think that exists. I think that is a false statement. I don't think it resonated with you
Hmm.
personally. I don't think that means it wasn't well written. That same, and it's like, what is well written? That is
Hmm.
objective or subjective. That's subjective. If I can say my um so yeah, I think it's a very creative place, and a lot of people try to put hard rules on it, and I think that is one of my weird things that I am different in viewing.
No, I agree with that. I think that it is an art, and with reading, what I love, and I sometimes people don't see this, but two people could read a story and come away from that story or book and have two completely different viewpoints on it too. And that's what I love about writing is it's like all in the, and I don't know if I'm saying this wrong, that eye of the beholder, right? It's who's reading it that you could interpret it one way and somebody else can interpret it completely different. And so, yeah, I kind of agree when people are like, well, it wasn't well written. I might have said it in my reviews. I think I've tried to start staying away from that because, like everybody loves Fourth Wing and I did not like it. I like for me, I think Vesselless is better than Fourth Wing. But that's my opinion, and obviously I'm a little bit different because so many other people love it.
Well, I agree. I don't think the story exists the same way for any two people. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that is one of the most beautiful things about writing. Um, yeah, the same story is approached with so many different experiences from the reader. They're bringing their life to this story and experiencing it through their lens, and that alters how it's perceived. And I think that is so amazing. Like you can have certain themes, and we all know what love is, but we all feel love differently. And so yeah, I love that.
So, on that vein, how does it feel seeing readers react to your books, especially to like the twists or the darker moments?
um well, okay, when you asked that, there was one comment that came to my mind. Like, oh my gosh, I have learned I don't read reviews, and even when I'm tagged in reviews, I kind of stay away from them. But there was this one, and it was the ARC review, and it was someone who hadn't followed me before, and she tagged me in it, and she said, I wasn't expecting the level of darkness that is in this book. And I wonder if, I mean, it has darkened since my indie version, but nothing has really changed. I think I just shined the, took the light away from some of the parts. I mean, like, highlighted some of the dark elements more.
Okay.
Um, anyways, but this person who left the review, she said, it was hard to read some of the scenes, which you guys know what scenes, I'm sure, with the father, you know. She's like, but it served the plot and it served the character development. And as hard as it was to get through it, I kind of hated it but loved it at the same time. And I was just like, I don't know how to feel about that. I was just like,
Like it's almost like you wrote those scenes so well that it made her uncomfortable. And it's because like you want to feel what the character's feeling when you read the book, but it's like when they're going through something that's not great, it's uncomfortable. And like, ugh, like when I read Zodiac Academy, I felt that. Like there was just the later books, I was just like, I am so stressed and sad, and there's just so many feelings, and it kind of made it that like I hated it, but I also loved it. Kind of like feeling.
it makes you think of like Ron Weasley when he's like, "You're gonna suffer, but you're gonna be happy."
Yes.
um, yeah, like I face that a lot because especially in book two, it's like okay, she's in this very dark place, and when you guys read the new version, you'll see there's a new name and in it. Um, I guess a new villain that's introduced in it, but just by name. It's like, so she knows that
Okay.
this villain exists. And the reason I had to do that with this new version is because on the indie plans, I was going to do Mazar's novella next. And
Mhm.
in his novella and in the bonus chapter that was in the indie, you remember, of
Mhm.
Mazar's point of view, I was going to introduce this person. But
Okay.
then, when it got picked up by Trad and we're going straight into book two, I had to go back and kind of introduce this person into
Okay.
book one. So if you haven't read the new version, you haven't really got this. But she's in this dark place. I mean, still all the plot lines are the same, but this new villain is basically the essence of evil. Like she is what evil is. And so it's like if you skirt over that evilness, it
Mhm.
feels fake. But if you dive too deep into it, it's going to be terrible to read. So it's like, where do you find the balance between this is real and this is realistic without dipping into like, this is satanic and I can't read this, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
so, so it's like, yeah, trying to find that balance of not skirting over the evil character and making them feel like this cartoon character that's like, ah, ha, ha.
Right, like too evil.
Yeah, like the hacker on did you ever watch Cyber Chase?
Yes,
I don't know why he pops into my head, but
that's
like
awesome.
that is what I envision when I'm trying to like not make it too um cartoony.
Okay, that's so cool.
Um, shoot, no. I
I
lost our
jumped. We're
I
technically
I
at the
know, I
last
saw
question
that.
on the writing process and craft.
Um, so what has been the most surprising thing about your publishing journey so far?
The most surprising thing, gosh, this one is kind of a hard one. I think it is the way how sensitive I am as a person. I think that might be the most surprising thing because like I have tender skin, a tender heart, and as got into this, I knew that you're gonna have things about being in the public eye that you can't be so soft. And so I'm like, the longer I am here and the longer I am brave and keep going forward, I will harden my skin a little bit. It was more like I need to grow and I need to become someone who can, you know, not be heartless, but be here. And I think the most surprising thing for me is that no matter how long I'm here, I am still a soft person. Like it is every post that you see is an act of bravery from me.
I love your
Um,
posts, especially your recent ones where you're going to like the bookstore and you're like doing all of
Yeah.
these like fun things. I'm like, that's awesome. I wish I could do that, but I'm too
oh
scared.
my gosh, I wish you guys the amount of archived posts I have would blow your mind. Every post I post is me being very brave, and it is extremely brave when I leave it on my page. Um, and yeah, like the funnest times that we record is me being myself, and I am just the most goofiest person ever. And then I put it on my Instagram page, and I instantly feel so dumb when I go back and watch them because I'm like, I don't see other authors riding around on a scooter holding a stack of books as like a cop. Like I had to hide my scooter from the cop because like the sign said like no skateboards, no.
Oh,
That is awesome.
So, like I see, is it Brianna West or Brianne West? Do you know that author? She writes nonfiction. She writes like 101 essays that will change your life or change the way you think. And The Mountain is You. It's very motivational, deep. She's a classy Vogue cover author. Like there's no goofy about her or her page at all. And so like every time one of her like posts come across my feed, I'm just like, I'm so silly and goofy. And I think the surprising thing about that is like I struggle to be myself online and I think that has been the most surprising.
can I just say, I love that you're silly and goofy. And just, I think that, like, I don't know, more like, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Not static, but like the Vogue post, it's like clean and perfect. And it's like, that's not really how we are, though. And so for you to be more like true to who you are and still see yourself as an author, I think that's really cool. And I don't know, I think it shows that, like, even if you're like a goofy, fun person, you can also be an author. And you don't have to change your personality to fit into this like line of work. So, I don't know.
Well,
I just
thank
love you, and
you.
I think
You
that
guys are
it's
so
so great
sweet.
that you're showing who you are on your page.
I know
And you,
I Oh, go ahead,
sorry.
Megan.
No, I was just gonna say that you in your videos you look like a natural at that stuff. Like you don't look like you're scared or nervous. Like you look like you are just you. And I think that they're fun and awesome.
Thank you. I am naturally goofy. I like that comes naturally. Sharing it online does not.
Does not, yeah.
But like I'll tell you guys. So I had an idea for a reel, and it was like what you feel like when you're talking about a fantasy book to someone who does not read fantasy books, and like you
Yes.
feel like an alien, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at them and they're seeing you and you don't feel human. You're like, I'm so weird right now. So like this real idea, I was like gonna put what it feels like to explain what fated mates are to someone who reads nonfiction. And I made this tinfoil hat because like when in like those old like movies like NCIS, how they'd have like that crazy lady come in who was like wearing the tinfoil hat and like talking to beings that weren't there. That's how I feel when I am like trying to explain what fated mates is to someone who only reads self-help books. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I made a tinfoil hat
Yes.
and I put sunglasses on and we recorded it. And I made my social media manager promise to never post it.
You gotta post it.
I
Now,
want to
no, yeah,
see.
you have to post it because that would
That's
be
going to be
so
the one that gets
awesome.
like 1 million views.
Yes.
I know.
I think you should post it because I
I
think that
wonder if
one
she
would go
deleted
like
it,
viral.
but like also, there was something about the reel that didn't quite make sense a little bit. So
Okay.
I was like, I don't know if people will get this, you know. So that's why I was like, just forget that that ever happened, and let's move on.
Well, I do think it would be a fun series if you figured out a way to do it where they did make sense. Because you could do like fated mates, and you could do, I mean, there's just every trope. And I feel like romantasy you could do and would be fun.
I will try for you, Kate, to make the tinfoil hat make sense.
Oh, what books or authors made you fall in love with reading?
Okay. The first one that did it was Twilight. I'm not gonna lie.
Nice.
I was it hit me right at the prime time, like 8th grade. And I
Excellent.
stayed up till midnight for that midnight release of Breaking Dawn. Like I found me when right before Breaking Dawn released. And so
Okay.
I binged all of those and ended up Breaking Dawn. And I remember sitting in the same chair for over 24 hours and I read through just all those books. So that was one of them. Um Aragon, I love that series. And then especially when after I read it and I found out that Christopher Paolini, is that how you say his name,
Mhm.
was really, really young when he wrote that. And that was very inspiring to me. Like I want to how old was he?
I think he
Like
was 14. I
yeah,
might be wrong,
that's what I
but
was going to say, but I didn't want to say the wrong age. But um I remember desperately wishing that the elf and him, the main character, I was shipping those two, okay? The whole series. I was like reading pages of description for hopefully the elf to come around.
Mhm.
So then I was, yeah, there's that side note. But that was one of them. And then Serpent and Dove was a witchy enemies to lovers, little bit of spice in it. I devoured that book, and that book was very inspiring to me. Manacled, that was one of my very first dark romance, dark themes that like was the perfect amount of dark for me.
Okay.
Like I tried reading Haunting Adeline because there was some of the premise that I was like, okay, yeah, this is interesting,
Mhm.
there wasn't quite enough light elements in there for me. So I ended up not finishing it. So yeah, Manacled was like, this is what I love in a dark romance. These are the dark things that I love. Like, all the dark things that are happening for a good reason. And
Yeah.
that is what I loved about it. And so all those were very deeply moving for me as an author.
Nice. That's awesome.
Okay, so since we were just talking about reading, what do you read while you're writing, or do you have to like avoid books so they don't like influence you or change your thought process or
I have always been, and I'm afraid I always will be, a super hardcore mood vibes reader. Like, it just has to strike the right string, the right chord
Mhm.
at the right time. Um, so anyone who can follow a TBR, I deeply admire you, because I do not have that gene at all.
Same.
Me neither. Nope.
You guys are the MVPs of the book community. I bow down to you. Um, Reading actually helps me and kind of distracts me while I'm writing, because I will binge books. Like, if it hits, it hits, and I binge it. Like, that's just it. Um, but it helps me in the way that, like, I build up these authors and these books in my head to be like this thing that is beyond natural ability. Like I will never write the masterpiece that these are. But when I open them and I read them and I see words that I know in sentences that are easy and simple and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, so yeah, like I like how this author described that in such a simple way, and it was effective, and it wasn't this unobtainable thing. So like, I work my anxiety up so much that I'm like, I will never be able to write another sentence again. And then I read a book. I'm like, oh yeah, I can write. You know, I
Nice.
can I can
Brings you
do
back down.
I can do a sentence like this one. Okay, let's try it. Um, so yeah, like, it calms me that way, especially like Akatar. I remember like reading Akatar, and I'm like, all of the elements in here are fairly simple. Like, it wasn't a Brandon Sanderson where like the magic system was like very fleshed out and
Mhm.
very detailed and essential part of the story. It was a love story, and I felt all of the things I needed to feel with minimal. I don't want to say world building, but like, it was very simple, and I think that's why it worked so well, because it wasn't like, I loved it. And I also love Brandon Sanderson, where it's like the opposite. The love story is kind of just in the background, and the world building is up front. And so it makes me happy to see there's so many ways you can do it, and you don't have to do like one way, and simple things work just as effectively in for a lot of people. So I don't know, does that answer your question? Is that a weird answer?
Yeah. No,
No, that answers. That was a perfect answer to that.
Mhm.
And I agree because, I'm a mood reader and, when you're reading a book, sometimes like I don't even like when I'm reading it, I don't even care about the magic system, right? Because there's other stuff happening. And I think how you explained it and why it might be prevalent is when you're more heavy on the world building, then you need that background. Whereas when it's not heavy on that, like you could do with less. I guess it just depends on how the story is being written, but I agree.
Yeah, I love I love the diversity of books and what they shine the light on. Like, you can have the exact same story written by two authors, and it feels completely different because of their talents and where they shine. And um I feel like my talent is banter or like snarky dialogue. Like, I feel like that is something that comes naturally, and everything else is like pulling teeth to get from me.
Okay.
Like, if I could just write the snarky dialogue all day, I would.
That's awesome.
But I have to put a room around them. And I have to, like, I have such a deficiency in viewing scenes in my head as I write. Like, it is a black room with no characters, and I forget if the character is on their knees or sitting or standing or opening a jar of jam. I don't see it. Like, it is gone. I only see it when I go back and read what I wrote. Like,
Okay. That's really
so I have
interesting.
no idea what the room looks like until I read what I wrote. Like, Nizara's room, it I didn't see it for the first time until I read it, like, especially, like, on this edition, like, after I've had space away from it
Hmm.
and coming to it more as a reader, then I'm like, "Oh, I kinda can see it now." I
That's
don't know
really
if that's
interesting.
super strange. It's probably a neurodivergent thing about me, and it makes writing descriptions and scenes and very hard for me.
I can't even imagine because you're like, well, if they were sitting and now they're standing over here because they have to talk to this person, yeah, that sounds difficult.
I know that sounds really strange, and I've never heard another author that was like, "Yeah, I can't see a dang thing that I'm writing in."
Just
That's me.
driving in a snowstorm.
It really is. So, like, dialogue for some reason is where I feel is comfortable in, but see, like, building the scenes and drawing emotion from the scenes is something that still really struggle at, and so in that aspect, reading other authors' work and seeing how they do it is kind of like me, practicing or learning how it is being done, and so yeah, I know that was really strange.
Okay, we're gonna move into a lightning round.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, if Diet Coke wasn't available, what beverage would you choose?
Alani, is that how it's pronounced? The cherry crush or coffee, one of those two.
Nice.
Okay. Morning writing or midnight writing?
Morning. I'm a potato after 8 p.m.
Favorite writing snack?
Coffee? If Okay, I'll say if it's not a drink, then it has to be something that is not sticky or messy on my hands. So, like, high
Okay.
chews. The other night I was
Okay.
like all about the high chews.
Nice.
Okay, fae, ghosts, or witches?
I feel obligated to say ghosts,
You
but
don't
Okay.
have
unbiasedly, I'd say probably witches.
Nice.
Okay.
Last book that wrecked you?
Manacled.
Same. That's rough.
One. I'm gonna have to read that one now. Okay.
Honorary mention is Blood Over Brighthaven. That one, I was like, you done me real good. You done me real good right there.
Okay, one word to describe your writing style.
Chaotic.
Love it.
Courtney, it has been such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here. For all of our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for continuing to hang out with the Bookish Diaries. If you can like, subscribe, and comment, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, and we would love to see what you have to say about the episode.
Yes. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been an honor and so fun to be on this podcast.
Thank you.